Hey, we're live again. It feels like it's only been a few hours because it has only been a few hours, which is fine. That's great. I think that's awesome. I got some fun stuff for everybody. We got some fun videos queued up. I also have, obviously, Solomon with me, my brother Solomon here. We have, I have some cool stuff that I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to wait for you guys to actually be here. I know it takes 2 minutes. It's going to take 2 minutes of me being live, and it's going to send you all the notification. Then you're all going to show up. Did you know that?
I did know
2
that.
minutes. It's 2 minutes. Did you know that? Is that variable?
I think it's somewhat variable.
I don't think it's variable.
But I know...
I like it because if I, mistakenly go live, or I go live with my audio not working as I was just about to or something like that, then I can...
So I just got the notification 1 minute.
Oh, interesting. Maybe that's because I'm an affiliate. Yesterday it was 2 minutes.
Maybe that's part of it. That's very interesting.
Because it was definitely I watched it and it was 2 minutes on the nose. The notification goes out.
It was 57 seconds.
Interesting. I think it's also interesting that even with that AC ripping in here, it's not very cool. That air feels warm, doesn't it? I wonder if the AC is frozen. Seems premature for it to be frozen. I think it's just hot outside. I think the air coming in is just absurdly hot. Now, I do know that there are bugs getting in here. Hey, what's going on, NyQuil Soze? Welcome, brother. I guess everyone will be filing in shortly. I wonder if I can go to the Discord and say we're live now. We're live now. Come on in. To the Twitch. I wonder if I can embed the Twitch in the Discord. I know I can do the opposite. Oh, yeah, everyone's here. Cool. 5 on Twitch, 1 on YouTube. Welcome, everybody. We're going to get started shortly. We're going to kind of turn a corner, I want to say, sort of, in the, why would I do SSC at 3 a.m. when you can't catch it live? Because, we were planning on starting earlier, but I had to put an air conditioner in my window, and then I had to figure out how to, edit out the sound. There's an air conditioner ripping in the background right now, and the only reason you guys can't hear it is because I figured out how to take it out, but I'll undo it for a second just so you guys can appreciate it. So this is what it sounds like with the air conditioner on, which I assume you guys can hear the air conditioner, but now I'm turning it off. So yeah, nobody likes the air conditioner noise. Anyway, so we had to figure all that stuff out, but it's all figured out. It's all figured out now. So, we are still having our conversation about the way of the fool. I wanted to share with you guys, some things. We're going to kind of turn the corner, or at least broaden our view on the fool as the trickster, the joker, the prankster, all that good jazz. So, what I have for you at first that I was just cracking up uproariously with Solomon about, we'll at least start with this till everyone gets here. I think I'm going to spare them the Navy SEALs copy pasta, because if you don't know what it is, it's not...
Yeah, that's fair.
You kind of got to know what it is. But I think everyone knows what the Bible is. At least everyone here should at least be familiar with the idea of a thing called the Bible. And maybe know the beginning of it. So we're going to pull up... Actually, this is much funnier. This is much funnier. Have you seen this one?
No.
That
definitely...
So we'll do this. So guys, what I'm going to show you is called speech synthesis. Okay, this is a technology that is obviously exists because I'm going to be playing you examples of it. We're going to be hearing videos. I'm just going to spend a few minutes on this because it's fun, and hopefully everyone gets a laugh to start their day out of it. So none of these people said these things, right? Their voices were cataloged by an artificial intelligence, a machine learning system, and then used, and I'll show you some more, and then used to make these things happen. So, it's showing me the wrong window. We're going to stay on the host scene, unfortunately, until I can get that work figured out. So here is President George W. Bush.
Shorty, it's your birthday. We gonna party like it's your birthday. And we gonna sip Bacardi like it's your birthday. And we don't give a fuck, it's not your birthday. You can find me in the club, bottle full of bub. Look, mommy, I got the X if you into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you into getting rubbed. You can find me in the club.
Hopefully you guys recognized In the Club by 50. What else can we do? Here's, similar.
This album is dedicated to all the teachers that told me I'd never amount to nothing. To all the people that lived above the buildings that I was hustling in front of. Called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter. And all the niggas in the struggle, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, baby, baby. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday. Rap Attack, Mr. Magic, Marley Moore. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed in Bamboo. Sipping on private stock.
So maybe you guys aren't hip-hop heads. I did promise you Bible. Here is
In the beginning,
a guy
God
who's never read the
created the
Bible.
heaven and the earth was without form, and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God
Sounds
moved
really
upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
John F.
And
Kennedy.
the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Alan Watts.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And
Martin Luther King.
beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
The earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. The Spirit of God moved upon.
Alex
In
Jones.
the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void.
Arnold
In the
Schwarzenegger.
beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form.
Gilbert Gottfried.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said,
Anyway, just some trickster things for everyone this morning. If you don't think that's hilarious, then I don't know why you're hanging out with me, because that's the funniest shit to me. I think that is the funniest. As a matter of fact, I'm going to drop a link to that whole channel in the Discord if you guys want to play around with this stuff. The Navy SEALs copy pasta stuff is the best. I'm going to drop you one Navy SEALs copy pasta because I can't not laugh at it. It's so good. Oh, man. Navy SEALs copy pasta. Who's my favorite one doing this one?
Bill was good.
I feel like Alan Watts is the best. Who's someone who would never say it is kind of who you want. ASMR
Gilbert
Whisper.
Gottfried.
ASMR Whisper's pretty funny. Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good
What the
one.
fuck did you just fucking say about me, you little bitch? Well, you know, I graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs and been involved in numerous secret raids on Al-Qaeda, and I have over 300 confirmed kills. I've been trained in guerrilla warfare, and I'm the top sniper in the entire U.S. Armed Forces. You're nothing to me but just another target. We'll whack you the fuck out with precision the likes of which has never been seen before on this earth. Mark my fucking words. You think you can
So, I think it's important for everyone to know and to give mind and heed to the fact that these things are clearly pretty easy to manipulate, right? None of those people said any of those things. Now, if you add to that deepfakes, we're not even going to look at deepfakes. It's not. There's no reason to really look at those. But you can put someone's face on in any scene, and you can add someone's voice to anything. So, it's an interesting time when we think of the fools and the tricksters and who's the fool and who's the trickster. All right, because some more people joined, I'm going to drop one more that I think is hilarious.
What the fuck did you just
Mr. Rogers.
fucking say about me, you little bitch? I'll have you know I graduated to all my class in the Navy SEALs.
Actually, this is funnier.
What the
AOC.
fuck did you just fucking say about me, you little bitch? I have you now a graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs, and I've been involved in numerous secret raids on Al-Qaeda.
All right, they can't get it to say Al-Qaeda right, but nonetheless, that stuff is absurd. So I'm going to drop the link to this channel in the Discord. If you want to check it out,
There's
make
a
sure
fifth dimension beyond it, which
make
is
sure you join our Discord. Make sure you join our Discord. You can do that if you're watching on Twitch by just scrolling down. Just scroll down right under the video window, and there's a bunch of links. You'll see the link to the store. You'll see a bunch of links, including the Discord. And you can just go right there. I'm going to drop the links to Here's, I'm typing it right in there, the speech synthesis videos. And I hope you guys get a good laugh. I feel like that was a good good lead into some of our trickster stories of the day. So, with that said, as fun as that was, let's go into the, the meat of our subject today. We're going to go ahead and start with Joseph Campbell, the mythology of the trickster. Joseph Campbell is one of my absolute favorite teachers when it comes to mythology, themes and folklore and things like that. I am just going to have to make sure we get the right window up here. That's no problem. Just got to change that. And where's Joseph Campbell? There it is. Boom. So that'll be up on screen for you guys now. So we're going to do Joseph Campbell, Mythology of the Trickster, followed by Tricksters an Introduction, Crash Course on World Mythology. It's a fun little video I saw. It's about 10 minutes. Then we'll go into some Native American stories. The Diné story, the first Coyote story ever told. Coyote Falls in Love. These are two Diné Navajo stories. And then an African story called Astoria Story. It's the story of Anansi and how Anansi learned all the stories from the sky god. So we'll get there. But we'll start with Joseph Campbell. And again, we're kind of building up this recognition. You'll see a lot of the themes from The Fool are the same as the Trickster. And as we kind of have this Joseph Campbell talk to frame things, let's keep an eye out as we hear more of these things, how it all comes together. Without further ado, Joseph Campbell, Mythology of the Trickster.
There's a figure in American Indian myths that represents this power of the dynamic of the total psyche to overthrow programs. This is the negative aspect, and it's called a trickster. It's a very, very important figure in American Indian mythologies. In the East, in the forest lands of the Northeast and Southeast, it's the great hare, a rabbit. When you go west of the Mississippi in the plains lands, it's coyote. You get up in the northwest coast, and it's raven. These are smart, clever birds and animals. Now, it's a great puzzler to well-trained Christians to come across the trickster hero, because he's both a kind of devil and fool and the creator of the world. And so he comes in as an upsetting factor. He breaks through. He even breaks through the notion of what a deity ought to be. And this, I think, is about as good an example as you can find anywhere of the trickster hero. Now, that trickster trait turns up in deities like Yahweh. Yahweh's a trickster. He lets people build a building, and then because it gets to be 3 stories high, he's afraid it's going to wreck heaven, and he comes down and floods the world. That's a trickster stunt. That's a ridiculous act. And we think it quite normal for a deity to behave that way. If a human being behaved that way, we would send him to a lunatic asylum. And here you have the deity coming through as the trickster, as the destroyer, as the disruptor of programs. Yahweh's full of this kind of thing. Well, the Coyote stories are really great. There's a rather amusing one. Oh, well, to start, I suppose the most important myth associated with this trickster is that of the flood. The American Indian floods, the story will start with all the animals on a raft with Old Man, who is a humanized aspect of Coyote, among them. And he sends a after a certain time, he sends a diving animal down, a muskrat or a diving bird, a loon or something like that, to get a little piece of mud out of the water and bring it up. Now this motif we find in American Indian stories of the diver who brings up the mud, and then old man takes it and puts it on the water and makes some magic, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he sends a fox or something to run around the world and see if it's big enough, and on the third or fourth time it's big enough, and there we are. Now in this theme of the old man on the raft appears in Siberia, northern Siberia, among the Chukchi or the Finns even, and Lapps, most people in the north. The shadow of God is this negative figure. And the deity sends a diver down. This is known as the earth diver motif. And he comes up with a little bit of mud, but he doesn't give it all to the deity. And after the deity has put the mud down and made a perfectly orderly world, then this other one spits out the rest of the mud, and that makes mountains and difficulties and everything of that kind.
So that was just kind of to line some things up. We're going to move right along here. Here's another kind of deeper introduction, and then we'll go right from here into some Coyote stories and then that Anansi story.
Hi there, I'm Mike Rignetta. This is Crash Course Mythology, and today we're going to start the first of a few episodes on a show favorite, trickster stories. But be warned, trickster myths can get sexy, a little gross, and they're filled with betrayal, but we should be able to handle it. Right, Tote? Oh, Tote, Stan just texted me. You've been promoted to host. So, I'm just going to go grab a coffee. See you later. Good luck. Just kidding. There's no way that Tote could host this show. He's like thousands of years old, and he only speaks ancient Egyptian, which literally no one understands. But roping some sucker into doing my work is exactly the sort of thing a trickster would do. Trickster stories are traditionally very popular, and for a good reason. In many trickster stories, the underdogs come out on top, and not by virtue of their superior strength or immortal attributes either, but because of their smarts. Another appealing thing about tricksters is that they're transgressive. They're rebels, and who doesn't love a rebel? Just ask Ares, Greek god of war and rebellion, or James Dean, the American god of pomade and leather jackets. A good place to start is mythologist David Leeming's description of a trickster. The trickster is at once wise and foolish, the perpetrator of tricks and the butt of his own jokes. Always male, he is promiscuous and amoral. He is outrageous in his actions. He emphasizes the lower bodily functions. He often takes animal form. Yet the trickster is profoundly inventive, creative by nature, and in some ways, a helper to humanity. So amoral and scatological, but otherwise a good guy. We all have that friend, I think. Let's begin in Africa. African trickster stories remain popular and frequently have ambiguous or morally dubious endings. According to Thury and Divini, unlike European folk tales, which usually have a happy ending, trickster stories typically end in disharmony. So let's see exactly what they mean by disharmony in the thought bubble. Anansi the spider and his son Kwekutsin are farmers having a bad year because of a drought. One day Kwekutsin is out for a walk, lamenting the poor harvest, and he sees a hunchback dwarf by the side of the road. The dwarf asks Kwekutsin what's wrong, and when he explains, the dwarf promises to help. He tells Kwekutsin to find 2 small sticks and tap him lightly on his hump while singing. So, tap tap, and it begins to rain. And soon the crops start growing. Anansi thinks he can do better and goes to look for the dwarf himself, making sure to bring 2 big sticks. The dwarf tells Anansi to tap him on his hump again, but Anansi ends up hitting the dwarf so hard that he kills him. Now, Anansi is scared because the dwarf was the king's favorite jester. So he puts the dwarf's body in a kola tree and waits. When his son Kwekutsin comes by and asks his father if he'd seen the dwarf, Anansi tells him that the dwarf is climbing the tree looking for a kola nut. As Quekutsin climbs up the tree, the dwarf's body falls down to the ground. Anansi cries out that his son has killed the king's jester. But Quekutsin knows Anansi's tricks and replies that the king was actually angry with the dwarf, and now he could go to the king and collect a reward. Knowing there's a bounty, Anansi exclaims that he had killed the dwarf. Anansi arrives at the king's court and discovers the king was not angry with the jester, but now he's certainly angry with Anansi. The king orders the body of the dwarf to be put in a box which Anansi must carry on his head forever, unless he finds someone else to carry it. Eventually, Anansi comes across Ant and asks him to hold the box while he goes to the market, and wouldn't you know it, Ant falls for it. This is why, to this day, we often see ants carrying great burdens. Thanks, Thought Bubble. It's probably becoming clear why, a lot of us just don't trust spiders. In a number of ways, this is a classic African trickster story. It features animals with human characteristics interacting in a human world. The trickster is initially undone by his own greed. If Anansi had just listened to his son and not tried to outdo him, he would have been okay. Also, maybe he shouldn't have tried to frame his son for a murder. But Anansi fails in his attempt to hide his crime because his son knows his reputation for duplicity. Despite his cleverness, Anansi's greed gets the better of him. His desire for the reward leads him to admit his bad deed and be punished for it. And if he did end up carrying the coffin for eternity, the story might provide a lesson about justice, but Anansi, being a trickster, is able to convince someone else to bear his burden, so he gets off scot-free. The ending of the story does explain a natural phenomenon, why ants are so industrious, but the story isn't exactly a model for good behavior. In the end, Anansi gets away with killing the dwarf. His comeuppance is brief, and the only thing he learns is that ants are total suckers. It's really like a Quentin Tarantino film of trickster myths. The story of Anansi and the ant bears some resemblance to one of Hercules' labors. We'll talk more about Hercules when we get to our episode on heroes, but the long and short is that he had to do 12 labors, and completing them cemented his reputation. One of these labors, the 11th, was to gather Zeus's golden apples from the far end of the earth. These apples were guarded by a dragon and the Hesperides, nymphs who were the daughters of Atlas, the titan with the unenviable task of holding the world on his shoulders. Talk about legendary back pain. It took a long time and a number of adventures before Hercules even found out where the apples were, but eventually he's told about them by another trickster, Prometheus. You remember him. He's the guy who stole fire for the humans and was punished by being chained to a rock and having his liver eaten daily by an eagle. Well, good news. Eventually, Hercules kills that eagle. And in return, Prometheus tells him that the way to get the apples isn't to fight a dragon, but to simply ask Atlas. Atlas can easily get past his daughters, and that Mr. Dragon, no sweat. So, Hercules makes a deal with Atlas. Hercules will hold up the world, giving Atlas a much-needed break, and in return, apples. Atlas is thrilled because, think about it. How would you feel holding up the literal world all the time? So he leaves, he goes, he grabs the apples. The problem is that when he returns, he tells Hercules that he really doesn't want to hold up the earth and the sky anymore. So maybe that's just your job now, Hercules? I don't know, just spitballing here. So here's Hercules. He can't move. He's holding the world after all, but he does some quick, tricky thinking. He tells Atlas, sure, he'll do it, but could Atlas take the earth and sky back for just a second while he gets some padding for his shoulders? And when Atlas agrees, Hercules grabs the apples and vamooses. Tricksters tricking tricksters. How do you like them apples? In these stories, we see that it often doesn't take much for a trickster to figure out how to fool the object of his trick, sometimes called a dupe. Often the dupe doesn't really deserve it, although it's hard to feel sorry for Atlas, who was attempting some minor league trickstering himself. While tricksters can be seen as playful scamps, they also show us that play can be dangerous, especially when, like Anansi, we let it go too far. In the Anansi story, the trickster acts as what Leonard and McClure call a moral counterexample. Tricksters are frequently greedy and lazy, dishonest and gluttonous, vain and impulsive. Thus, they can be seen as agents of chaos, for society provides the greatest advantages to the greatest number only if everyone restrains his or her impulses and cravings and makes allowances for the needs of others. We're usually better off when we don't lie or cheat each other, but that's exactly what tricksters do. We're typically happy when they're punished for their tricks, but this doesn't always happen. Trickster stories can be especially troubling because not only do they usually get away with their tricks, but are often celebrated for it. Tricksters aren't all bad, though. The trickster can provide a model for the oppressed to reclaim some autonomy in the face of overwhelming power. This is one of the main lessons of the Brer Rabbit stories, which are descended from African trickster stories, but transplanted into the context of chattel slavery in English-speaking North America. Brer can be seen as representing slaves who would use their ingenuity to thwart and outsmart cruel plantation owners. Maybe then it's worth asking what would happen if the tricksters just always won. And the truth is, while some tricksterism may be justified and a little bit of transgression here and there is fun, if everyone decides that it's okay to beat dwarves to death in order to double the amount of rainfall, metaphorically speaking, that wouldn't be great. Trickster stories are often morally ambiguous in this way. Even Brer Rabbit isn't always clearly the good guy. And that's one part of why we like them so much, maybe. Sometimes it's simply a thrill to break the rules. We, as humans, can see ourselves pretty clearly in the trickster myths. It's hard to identify with someone who can hold the world or who goes on errands for the father of creation, but we've all at least tried our hand at bamboozling someone into taking over our responsibility. Sorry, Toad. You're a good sport. Thanks for watching. We'll see everyone next week. Check out. Hey there, I'm Mike Rugnetta. This is Crash Course Mythology, and today...
So we'll hold off on this next set of trickster stories for a little bit. I just want to touch base with you guys on tricksters, and really, because we've been talking about the fool and the trickster, where do those intersect is the question, right? It has something to do with pride. When the fool becomes prideful, he becomes the trickster. When the trickster becomes humble, he becomes the fool. And you see them play these roles back and forth. Even Loki, who we'll learn about later, who's generally seen as kind of a jerk and like a big problem for the world and gonna betray the gods and lead to the end of the universe, is a good guy sometimes. So this narrative and these two sides of a coin, like everything, right? Now I want to move on to another, but he kind of touched on it here in that last story. He talked about how humans are tricksters, right? We relate to that. There's a reason that Hermes Mercury governs humans and all of our human things, thought, words, all these things. Words are tricks. Anyone who's been with us from week 1 with Holy Mountain knows that. We'll get some of that stuff up in the archive so people can get in touch with it. But the existence of words are tricks, right? If there's a thing and we don't have a word for it, we don't think about it. But as soon as I tell you about something called responsibility, and as soon as I tell you what your responsibilities are, all of a sudden that's just changed a lot of things for you. Before you knew about that, everything was cool. Once you learn about that, something's changed. What changed? Just words, right? Words are a trick. That's why these people all invade it. Whether it's Coyote, whether it's Hermes, whether it's Odin, whether any of these the masters of magic and the masters of words are these trickster fools, right? And it's all the same archetype. Anyway, one of the things that we get from the Diné tradition is the idea that the coyote is the first 5-fingered animal, and so the progenitor of humankind. That is this basic lazy sneakiness of our species. First of all, is part of our species, and second of all, comes through our descent from Coyote. But how about I let the Diné speak for themselves, and I just play the video.
And then those people, they say that the neck, the anthropologists, and then those people, they say that the neck came from the north. There is not any one story in the traditional teachings of the neck that say we came from that direction. In the telling of the emergence story, when the Diné, in the actual life here on the surface of Mother Earth, they came from the east and came into this area. And many native people, when they tell about their origin, they always say that they came from the direction east and that the holy people brought them to this part of the world. And that when the holy people left, they promised that one day we will come back and we will come from that direction to be with you. And so that was the understanding. And so the Dene also had the story of coming from the east. But if any of you have noticed that the anthropologists and then those people, they say that the Dene came from the north. There is not any one story in the traditional teachings of Dene that say we came from that direction. It's always that people went in that direction to the north. People went to the west, and people went south, and people went in different directions. But they never ever arrived here coming from the north, except maybe small groups, because in the telling of the story, when they came from the east and they came into this part of the continent, they encountered mountains, very high mountains, and they referred to them as Topataiskit. And that's very important to understand that word, because a lot of times people don't understand Topataiskit. It's saying like a mound of water. And that's what snow is. When snow settles on top of the mountains, it is a mound of water, because when it melts, that's when the rivers start to flow. And that's where you get the story of the rivers flowing in the four directions. And so this happened probably around the present-day southern Colorado, after they had come west, and they encountered the mountains, and they identified the Topataiskit, or the mountains, with the snow piled on top of them, and the rivers flowing out of the mountains in the four directions. But the two main rivers, of course, is the one that is known as the Rio Grande, and then the other one, the Colorado. But the story of the early Dene, they talk about along those rivers, there were people that lived there. Later on, those people became known as Tsajakene, or Bekintachini, or Tane Dene. There were so many different names in that of some of the groups. But today, we still have the group of people that are named Tsajakene by clan, and Bekintachini, and some of the others that were encountered along the river in those very early times, which is probably almost 2,000 years ago when the Dene first came into the area. But the reason I point this out is because it's very important when you listen to the emergent story. That's the very first thing that they talk about, and the four rivers, and then the people they encountered, and then the very first story of Trotting Coyote has a setting up in the area probably east of Moab, Utah, and up toward Grand Junction, Colorado. That's the very first setting of the Trotting Coyote story, the very first one. And that is that after Coyote was given the authority to have control of the weather, he's trotting along, and it's a very hot day. And if you've ever been out in that area, south of the Book Cliff, you know how desolate that is, how dry it is. But just a few thousand feet, or a few thousand feet to the north, you have that ridge, the Book Cliffs, and on top of that is mountainous country. But the story about the first Trotting Coyote is where he is trotting along, and he wishes that there was a cloud above him. And in Navajo, he says, and he gets the cloud, and then he asks for a little bit more and a little bit more, and pretty soon a thunderstorm happens, and then it floods the area, and he comes in contact with his cousin Skunk, and him and Skunk devise a plan that Skunk will go tell all of the rabbits and all of the prairie dogs that the coyote has died, and in it they refer to Doi Dini, and he says, Go and tell him Dohildini is dead. And so he does, and all of the rabbits and the prairie dog come around to dance and watch and see this dead coyote. And so as they come around and they gather around, so the little skunk cousin puts his rear end up into the air and sprays his chemical into the air, and it blinds everybody. And then him and Coyote, they club the rabbits and the prairie dogs, and then eventually they put them into the ground to roast them to eat. But Coyote, he wants them all for himself. And so he talks the little coyote cousin into having a race with him. And so this is the very important part, because in the traditional way that the story is told, Coyote challenges his little skunk cousin. He says, we're going to race. Whoever wins gets all of the prairie dogs and the rabbits. And so a little skunk agrees. And Coyote says, see those 5 mountains over there? Just let's die. He says, I'm going to give you a head start. When you get to those mountains, he says, you make a fire. So when I see the smoke, then I'll take off. And so little skunk said, okay. But little skunk went a little ways and he found another cousin, the badger. He said, would you do me a big favor? He said, when you get on the other side of that mountain, make a fire. And so the badger agreed. And so the fire was made, and then Coyote back over here saw the smoke, and he took off. And as he ran toward the mountain, little skunk was hiding and saw him go by, and then little skunk comes back and digs up the rabbits and the prairie dogs and hauls it off into the rock, high up in the rocks. And Coyote, of course, completes his race after he runs to the sky and comes back. And finds that the prairie dogs and the rabbits have been dug up, and he tracks his cousin skunk out to the rocks, and he sees him way up there, and he stands down at the bottom and he says, that means, cousin, please give me back some of that food. And he throws him a bone. But the main important thing is those 5 mountains that was told in the original way that the story is told, the Lashkai. And those today are identified as the LaSalle Mountains, and they are located east of the Moab, Utah. But that's the very first trotting coyote story of the emergence.
So we'll do one more that focuses on obviously that story. Now that we know the trickster themes, right? I hope everyone saw that in that story. That's pretty obvious, right?
Yeah,
all that stuff. Honestly, what I expected was that Coyote was waiting for him to light the smoke and then be like, "Oh, he's super far away. I'm just going to dig that stuff up and eat it."
That was my initial.
I laughed when I heard that part. All right, one more Coyote story here.
But the story, as we mentioned, is that the coyote is really symbolic of the 5-fingered being, the humankind. And so it is that we understand that when the holy people put us on the surface of Mother Earth, they made us all carry the equal size bundle. Every one of us is given a bundle. It's still wintertime because we have snow still on the ground. And so we will share this last winter story with you. It concerns a coyote, again, trotting coyote. This, we have shared with you a portion of this particular story before. It's about the young woman that was very beautiful that the coyote fell in love with or fell in lust with, and she had 12 brothers, and she is the one that he does seduce, and then she becomes an evil bear and kills all of her 11 of her 12 brothers. But this story is along the same line and the same time period But the story is about the coyote when he was first introducing himself to the 12 brothers of this young lady that he wanted to have as a wife. And so the story is that the brothers didn't trust him and felt that he would not make a very good brother-in-law. But they gave him the opportunity to prove himself by him being invited to go and do things with the 12 brothers, and one of them was to go hunting. And so the 12 brothers took coyote hunting with them. And they went out and they hunted, and they were able to harvest a lot of deer and antelope and buffalo and acquire a lot of meat. And at the conclusion of the hunt, they bundled all of the meat up in a nice, neat bundle that could be carried by one person. And they told Coyote and instructed him. They said, now it's going to be your responsibility to take this meat home and give it to our family and our sister. And also, the one thing that we want you to not ever do is to open it. Don't untie it. Don't open it. Just take this bundle as it is, as we have prepared it, and you carry it back. And so Coyote said, okay, I can do that. And so he took off with the bundle, and the brothers continued to do other things. And so he was traveling back to their home by himself. But as soon as he got out of sight of the 12 brothers, he snuck over off of the trail over here behind some trees or somewhere, and he did exactly what he was told not to do. And so he untied the bundle. He was very curious about what was in that bundle and why he was instructed to not untie it. And when he untied the bundle, all of the meat just expanded and went all over the place and flying all over the ground in the area. And there was nothing unusual about it. It was just meat packed into a bundle that was made very small and it could be managed. And so after he realized that, he tried to put the meat back into a small package, a small bundle, but he wasn't able to do that. And so he tried all kinds of ways to try to stuff the meat back together and put it in a small bundle again, but he just could not do it. So he threw dirt on the meat he couldn't get back into the bundle to hide it and just let it go to rot. And he just put a small amount back into the bundle and tied it back up as best he could, and he carried that back to their home. But the story, as we mentioned, is that the coyote is really symbolic of the five-fingered being, the humankind. And so it is that we understand that when the holy people put us on the surface of Mother Earth, they made us all carry the equal size bundle. Every one of us is given a bundle. And if you look at it in some other terms than that are applied to this, is that being created equal, but being given the same size bundle and told to not open this until you get home, or under very strict conditions, would you be, opening this until you learn how to open it and how to do it properly. You just take it back and carry it with you and follow the instructions that we have given you. And it's to test your honesty and your obedience and just some very basic human understanding. It is that we are all equal in that regard, but it is that sometimes we don't realize what this being created equally means. I think that a lot of people don't understand that being equal, we have some equal rights by all as individual beings, but we've learned that, into being a person, an individual being, you have rights, but your rights don't have, it has a beginning, but it has an end. And your rights, they tell us, end right here at the tip of your nose. Beyond that, it is that you have to remain equal, and to do that, your rights as an individual being ends at the tip of your nose. If you try to go beyond that, then you are infringing on other people's rights. And so the bundle that we carry and are told are given to us, we are to carry and not untie it until we have learned some very simple things. And common sense could be one of them. But being obedient and being able to follow instructions and being trusted to do what we're told to do. And those are the things that are to be understood in this particular story of the coyote and the bundle and how he untied it against the instructions of the 12 brothers as he would take the meat home. And those are the things that we are told.
All right, gang, we got one more. Everyone chilling with this? It's kind of a slower paced elder stories. I like that stuff. I feel like everything nowadays is fast. And we've studied the art of delivering information, bing, 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 with our little leaderboards. By the way, shout out to Royalty Minded, speaking of leaderboards. Thank you for the sub. We have this whole ADD way of interacting nowadays. And I think hearing the elders tell stories has a lot of value. Trains us to be patient. It trains us to be obedient. Everything he's talking about, right? And if you are ever kind of graced with the opportunity to sit with an elder, that's exactly how you do it. Just sit there and shut the fuck up. You can ask questions if they stop talking, but don't interrupt them, because you're not going to get what you're supposed to get. Okay, one more Anansi story, then meditation prayers. You know how it goes from there. We'll share one more Anansi story.
He kept them in a golden box next to his royal stool.
I failed to mention, this one is a super dope cartoon. So, tell a friend to tell a friend. This thing is cool. If anyone's microdosing, now's the time.
A story, a story. We do not really mean that what we are about to say is true. A story, a story. Let it come, let it go. Once there were no stories on earth to hear. All the stories belonged to Niame, the sky god. He kept them in a golden box next to his royal stool. Anansi, the Spider-Man, wanted to buy the sky god's stories. So he spun a web up to the sky. When the sky god heard what Anansi wanted, he laughed. The price of my stories is that you bring me Osebo, the leopard of the terrible teeth, Mboro, the hornet who stings like fire, and Mwatia, the fairy whom men never see. Anansi bowed and answered, I shall gladly pay the price. Chuckled the sky god. How can a weak old man like you, so small, pay my price? Anansi ran along the jungle path, yirdi, till he came to Osebo, the leopard of the terrible teeth. Oh ho, Anansi, said the leopard. You are just in time to be my lunch. Anansi replied, as for that, what will happen, will happen. But first let us play the binding game. The leopard, who was fond of games, asked, how is it played? With vine creepers, explained Anansi. I will bind you by your foot and foot. Then I will untie you, and you can tie me up. Very well, growled the leopard, who planned to eat Anansi as soon as it was his turn to bind him. So Anansi tied the leopard by his foot, by his foot, by his foot, by his foot with a vine creeper. Then he said, now, O Sebo, you are ready to meet the sky god. Next, Anansi cut a frond from a banana tree and filled a calabash with water. It crept through the tall grasses, Sora, 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 till it came to the nest of Umboro, the hornets who sting like fire. Anansi held the banana leaf over his head as an umbrella. Then he poured some of the water in the calabash over his head. The rest he emptied over the hornet's nest and cried, it is raining, raining, raining. Should you not fly into my calabash so that the rain will not tatter your wings? Thank you, hummed the hornets, and they flew into the calabash. Thump! Anansi quickly stopped the mouth of the gourd. Now, Umboro, you are ready to meet the sky god. Anansi now carved a little wooden doll holding a bowl. He covered the doll from top to bottom with sticky latex gum. Then he filled the doll's bowl with pounded yams. He set the little doll at the foot of a flamboyant tree where fairies like to dance. In a little while, Moatia, the fairy who no man sees, came dancing, dancing, dancing to the foot of the flamboyant tree. Moatia said, Gum, baby, I am hungry. May I eat some of your yams? Thank you, Gum, baby, said the fairy. Don't you reply when I thank you, cried the angry fairy. Gum, baby, I'll slap your crying place unless you answer me. Pah! A hand stuck fast to the Gum baby's sticky cheek. Let go of my hand or I'll slap you again. Pah! Now the fairy was stuck to the Gum baby with both hands, and she was furious. She pushed against the doll with her feet, and they also stuck fast. Now Anansi came out of hiding. You are ready to meet the sky god, Moatia. Anansi spun a web round Osebo, Umboro, and Umatia. Then he spun a web up to the sky. Oh, Niame, said Anansi, bowing low. Here is the price you ask for your stories. Osebo, the leopard of the terrible teeth. Umboro, the hornets who sting like fire. And Moatia, the fairy who men never see. Little Anansi, the Spider-Man, has paid me the price I ask for my stories. Sing his praise, I command you. Shouted all the assembled nobles. From this day, and going on forever, proclaimed the sky god, my stories belong to Anansi, and shall be called Spider Stories. So Anansi took the golden box of stories back to Earth. And when he opened the box, all the stories scattered to the corners of the world, including this one. This is my story, which I have related. If it be sweet, or if it be not sweet, take some elsewhere, and let some come back to me.
I really like that one. I hope you guys enjoy that one as much as I do. That one,
I think that was really good going into meditation.
Yeah, it chills out, and I don't know. I love the animation. The whole thing's dope. Cool, I'm glad people joined us. Excellent. Alright, I'm ready to meditate. And before I clear my mind, though, I gotta be modern about this and say, come on, guys, click those things. Follow, the subscribe. Sorry, over here. Underneath the video if you're watching on Twitch. If you're on your phone, do it when you get home. It's okay. The subscribe thing, if you have Amazon Prime, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything, so do that. And if you haven't followed yet, that just tells you when I'm going live, which may be handy if you like watching these things. Cool. We're going to go to meditation now. If you don't want to meditate with us, hop off. We did 18 minutes of meditation yesterday, you guys. I didn't set a timer because I was like, oh, you know what? I usually check the timer at like 9 minutes, so it'll be fine. Like, I'm pretty good on that. But nope.
It's because you set the timer.
Yeah, it's because I set the timer, exactly. Like, that did not happen in the slightest bit yesterday. So, we're going to set the timer today. But what meditation are we going to do? Any votes? We can do bones again. I think that might be a little excessive. No? Well, everyone loves bones. Should we just do that? Should that just be our thing?
Video.
What's that?
I think that.
Oh, the video. Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, there's a lag. Yeah. Well, let's do the apple. Yes.
We can go back to apple.
We've been going back and forth. You had an interesting apple recently.
I did.
Do you want to share? Do you want to share it or no?
I mean, I don't know what I told you was compelling. I don't know what to make of it.
Why don't you just tell me
what felt most interesting?
What was most different? Like, speak to the progress. You have never done any of this stuff before, right?
Right. This has been
You started meditating. I mean, you've prayed before, I guess.
Right.
But you've not meditated or learned any of this stuff before, what, 2 months ago? 2.5 months ago is when we started, April 1st.
Yeah. I had some exposure through, working with you, but until we started doing, like, daily meditations, I had no experience with meditation in this form. I had no...
So, pause on that. On that note.
Yes.
Just the apple meditation, which we've only been doing, I don't know, a month, maybe?
Not even. A couple weeks.
Few weeks, yeah. Talk about your progress in doing that, though, whatever. However many times we've done it. Maybe 10? Maybe 10? Yeah.
I mean, at the very beginning, it was even difficult to form an image in my meditation because, again, that was not something that I had done or was comfortable with. And it was a lot of color patterns and almost like blotches when you look at light and then close your eyes. Stuff similar to that, but definitely at this point I understood getting in trance and was in trance for this. And further and further it became shapes and then to an apple and then to turning and understanding that apple. And the first time I cut the apple was a very interesting experience. That is actually the only apple I've been able to go back to.
Once you find your apple, it's hard to get. You can get another one, but it's hard to.
And that's been a very interesting apple in representation of how I think I'm feeling spiritually.
Yeah.
I think, again, I'm still so new to this, and there's so much that I can't take context of yet because I don't have the basis. But everything is drenched in meaning, always. And that's really what it comes down to, and the more you get into it, the more apparent it is.
So, with that said, I hope everyone kind of takes that as well, and let's compare that to maybe some of the other, like, how is meditation, daily meditation in general, affected, or how has that been? What has that been like?
Daily meditation and I think it also ties in with a lot with the worldview that comes with spirituality and comes with this understanding of the universe, but I don't know that I've been happier or more self-confident in my life than I have in the past 6 months increasingly.
But I mean that's multiple. I guess you've made multiple changes.
That's true.
But I guess that's part and parcel too.
But definitely, I've noticed 100% my mindset.
Yeah.
The way I respond to aversion and things I typically don't enjoy, the way I rejoice in the things that I normally take for granted, and just my overall satisfaction with every moment in life is markedly higher.
Do you notice a difference on days where you miss it, or does it? I don't know. I find that like on the weekends when I don't do it, I'm just like it's not the same as the weekdays when I am doing it. For me personally, I don't know if that's every. I assume a break is good too. So.
It, especially at my point, it feels like working versus not working.
Yeah.
Not in that it's a
Yeah,
job,
yeah.
but a different mindset.
Yeah,
for the
totally,
day.
totally,
Like a productive day should start with meditation, 100%.
Yeah, that's true. You kind of get that as part of your rhythm. True that. Well, with that said, let's do this Apple meditation. What do we think? Theta waves, everyone? Shall we? I find the theta help with the Apple. I need to find some kind of Apple animation overlay. Or some way I want people to visualize their own Apple.
You could make it a bunch of different apples. Just rotating apples.
Wait a second. All right, internet, come through for me. Come through for me. Come through for me. Morphing Apple video.
I'm sure it exists.
I hope it does. Come on. Come on. Oh, well, it's going to be like Apple computers.
Just do morphing apple fruit video.
Morphing apple fruit video. Morphing apple... I don't even know what the fuck this stuff is.
Definitely not what we're looking for, but interesting. Yeah, no. This is not.
No, this is something...
We'll research. We'll get this set up eventually.
Yeah, or someone who can do animations. We need like a morphing apple.
I'm sure we can get.
This is a Fiverr thing.
There's definitely some software of like just an AI generation like constant morphing apple.
That has to be possible.
Yeah.
I've tangled my whole thing up.
Yeah, I don't know what you did. You should just unplug.
That's what's happening. This is hilarious. I don't understand how this has happened. All right. Well, I'm not using headphones. It's okay. We're meditating. All right. So for those joining us for the first time, first of all, welcome to everyone who's joining us on YouTube. Welcome to everyone who's joining us on Twitch. If you're joining us on Twitch, don't forget to follow and subscribe. If you're joining us on YouTube, don't forget to smash the like and the follow and all that good stuff. All that said, if you're joining us for meditation for the first time or the Apple meditation for the first time, maybe you joined us for the Bones meditation yesterday. For the Apple meditation, we're going to sit comfortably in an upright position. For this one, we're generally going to close our eyes, although I will say I can see my Apple with my eyes open now. That's something I've never been able to do. It's weird. It's weird when I do that. Like, it's not...
How far into that apple are you?
I started this one when you guys started. Like, I started at the same time. But I know where we're... I'm like, I know what comes next. So I'm kind of like... I you know... Well, and that's the thing. When you get to a certain point, I can just suggest what comes next. Like, I've suggested to you guys before, if you get to the point where you're visualizing the apple in perfect detail and moving it in all dimensions in perfect rotation and it stays in perfect detail, and you can zoom into it and zoom out of it and all that stuff, and you can cut it and open it. This is all obviously in your mind's eye, guys. Cut it and open it and look at it and see the seeds, and you have to be surprised. You know, you should not know what those seeds, what's in there until you cut it open. That's kind of your basic benchmark. Once you reach that point reliably and you know, over a few periods of practice, where when you don't know what's it, you know the apple, it's your apple, you know you can cut it, you open it, and the seeds are a surprise every time, or whatever you're going to see in there, what shape they're in, what form they're in, what color they are. Once you've reached that point, then the next step is you can plant those seeds. And when you get to planting those seeds, what can grow from there is pretty boundless, right? Just meet it with that same thing that you meet cutting open the apple with, right? That mix of I'm surprised, I'm in control, but I'm surprised, right? Because that's kind of how we meet life, right? We're in control of ourselves. We're in control of the process. We're in control of the routes we go on. But we're basically surprised by what we find there. And when we can kind of stay in that zone, when we're doing this visualization and in general, it opens up crazy stuff, crazy potentialities. So in order to do that, once you get to the point where you're doing this meditation to the degree that you can open it up, and again, every time you're like, wow. And I'll also say you can get in the habit of asking a question of the apple and then cutting it open and looking, and you can perform divination off those seeds. You can remove the seeds from the apple and throw them on the ground and perform divination. How that divination works, that's again something for you to communicate with the apple in your context. But what is this apple we're talking about? You're just going to picture an apple. Picture an whatever it is, an apple in perfect detail, and then everything comes from that. What you grow from those seeds in this practice, and again, you go back to it every session. We've been doing this for quite some time at this point. What you grow from those seeds is kind of up to you. Also up to the seeds, though, right? The seeds will grow what needs to be grown. What you do with what it grows is completely up to you. That's where, again, you're going to meet this, intention with the unknown again and again and again. And that's the practice, right? It continues, right? All I know is that mine grew 8 trees, what I'm doing with those 8 trees, I'm kind of engaging with each one. How I engage with it, I don't know. Once I approach it, it does a thing. Like either I find an opening or I climb it or whatever. What happens when I do that? I'm always surprised by. When how I react to what happens, whether I keep going, I always keep going. I don't know. But what I choose to do when I see what happens there, that's something that I decide. What happens when I do what I choose to do, I'm always surprised by, to be honest. It's been an interesting process, and I mean, you might say it's all in my imagination, it's all in my imaginary realm, but so much of it is not anything I'm intentionally generating, and it's that's the whole trick, right? Meeting, because that's where magic happens, when you meet imagination with intention and with will, right? So that's what we're practicing, and it does cool things. So with that said, sit comfortably, close your eyes, just visualize that apple. Visualize an apple if you've never done this before. An apple in perfect detail, and proceed from there, right? Get to know it, and once you have it again in perfect detail in every dimension, every direction, you can spin it in your mind's eye, whatever, cut it open, look at the seeds, go through that practice, and then if you're all the way through that, start growing the seeds and engage with what comes from that. Alright guys, I'm going to set a timer. Or am I? Here we go. I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Let's stretch it out, because we went 18 yesterday, no problem. I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. And I don't know what I'm going to put on screen for the people who tune in. I guess the theta waves.
It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And then I'll put up like a text thing that says, hey, we're meditating. Right? Mm-hmm. That's cool. I'll do that. YouTube videos. Where's my one? Oh no. Yeah. Pure. That's that pure shit. That raw shit. Listen, you don't want these soft ones. You want the pure. Trust me. You can handle it. Okay. Theta waves coming up.
We're ready for it.
They're ready for it. You're ready. Everybody here's ready for it.
Yeah.
Boom. I don't know. All right, let me make sure this is pure theta. To be honest with you, I don't know this particular one. There. Oh yeah, that sounds good. That's juicy. You must use headphones. It says.
You still hear it. It's not the same though.
Well, okay. We'll live it. I'm gonna sit in the middle of the sound field. Solomon, you guys sit on my lap or something. No. All right, guys.
I get the gist of it. Don't worry.
Okay. We're going in. I'm already feeling like my eyes are getting weird. We're about to do the deep theta. And then I'm going to add a little text thing that says meditation. Meditating. We'll go... Doop. How do I do a text box? I see. Here it is. Add the source. There it be. It's going to be a... Twitch. Yeah. I don't know what any of this shit is. looks gigantic. I don't want it to be that big. It just says Twitch. Oh yeah, that's not what I want. Well, let me fix that, and then we'll be good.
I think you have to make it fun.
You think so? No, I can edit this. I should be able to edit it. No, I can't. Alright, we're not doing this. We're just going to listen to this. I'll figure that stuff out later. Guys, we're meditating.
Deep waves.
Deep waves. Picture the apple. I'll see you guys in 15 minutes. I'll be here, but I won't see you. I'll see you in 15. Clock. Timer. No, we're not at... We'll do 12. We'll do 12. It's 2/3 of what we did yesterday.
It's a good stepping stone.
Good stepping stone from 10. Alright, gang. See you in 12 minutes. Let's do this. pretty cool. I like this theta wave. It's a good one. Wow, our viewership actually went up during that. That's awesome. You guys are the best. I definitely love you guys. Oh man, these speakers definitely make, you feel that?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh boy. That was something. I hope that was something for all you guys too. How was that for first timers? I know some people were first timers here. What did you guys think of that? I want to know. Let me know. We'll go into prayer shortly, but I definitely want to hear from those who have just joined us for that. And for those who joined us during that and maybe didn't know what we were doing. I mean, I guess you could see in chat that we're talking about meditation and there's some crazy sound going on. And you can see in the camera that we're sitting there like a couple mannequins. Though I felt like I was twitching. I don't know if I was twitching. Maybe it's the twitch. I don't know. But I felt like all sorts of stuff was being released and passing through my fingertips and stuff. It was pretty intense for me. I don't know about you guys, but welcome to the journey if you're a first timer, and congratulations on continuing the journey if you're not a first timer. This is what it's all about. So let's go ahead, pull up my main screen here. Boo. Dang, I released like a whole clot of tension in my lower back. That's crazy. It feels very different now. It's like a pinched nerve. I don't know. I felt all kinds of nerve stuff happening. Maybe it's a continuation of the stuff from yesterday. But cool. Well, now's about when we move into prayer, you guys. So let's be grateful. Yeah? Yes? 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 Cool. Let's be grateful. Let us be grateful. Woo, to draw breath. Grateful to have function in our bodies. Grateful to experience everything we've experienced so far this morning. Waking up. Eliminating waste. Breathing, standing, walking. And if not standing or walking, opening our eyes. And if not opening our eyes, opening our noses. And if not opening our noses, carrying beating hearts, carrying brains that move electricity, existing in that sense. Let's be grateful for the fact that this is phenomenal. The potential is unlimited. Whatever we want to experience, whatever we want to encounter, whatever we want to explore, that's given to us to discover, to treasure, to carry, to share. All that's available. All that is a free gift. A free gift. Everything that we want to determine in our lives is available there for us because of this and by this gift. And let's give our gratitude today for that fact. And let's truly be grateful. Let's truly be humbly grateful. And in that humility, accept that gift. Now, when you accept a gift, if grandma gives you a sweater and you don't wear it, you're just taking it, you're not accepting it. Accept that gift. You're given that gift. We are given that gift. I am given that gift. Go ahead and say it on your end. I am given the gift to make what I will of my reality. So let's accept that gift and use it well and be in contact with the giver of that gift. Periodically let them know how it's going. And right now, let's say thank you. Thank you for this gift. Thank you for this gift of making what I will. Thank you for the discernment you give me and lend me to do that. Thank you for the power that you lend me to accomplish that. I bless you by every bit of power within me, because it's on loan from you to start with. And let's multiply it that way. And let us all say, Amen. That was fun stuff, gang. That was fun stuff. Awesome. Thank you, as always, for hanging. Of course, don't forget to hit the follow button and know when I'm going live, because you never know when I'm just going to hop on here. I'm doing it more and more. Last night, we came on and did 2 hours, which I was really tired for, but I'm pretty sure we discovered like a species of giant in the Bible that is often mistranslated as mules. But we found at least claim, I don't know if it's proof, that mules would have been impossible in that time and region, and therefore, and that there's a different word for mules that occurs later. And so it is these Elim, which were giants. So just an interesting, thing. Anyway, thank you guys. I love you guys. Don't forget to support the stream when you're able. Don't forget to follow and sub if you're just checking this out for the first time. If you're watching this on video, or recording, excuse me, I'm showing my age. Catch us every day at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. here in the Mountain Time. And of course, whenever I feel like popping on here. 10 more followers, and I guess I got to eat more mushrooms and read tarot. So I would say, if you're interested, now's a good time to invest in that. Thank you all. I love you. Have a great